In an unprecedented scenario, this review concerns me sitting down to watch a classic Doctor Who story for the very first time. So I thought it would be useful to type out my thoughts and preconceptions going into this before I load the DVD up. I'm about to watch The War Machines for the first time, and this will be interesting because it's only the second William Hartnell story I've ever seen, the first one being the Dalek invasion of Earth, which was okay, I suppose. It's also interesting to me because this is the show's very first attempt at a type of story which the show would later rely on during the early 1970s, a type of story that has also become a staple of the modern era of the show, namely the modern day Earth invasion story, complete with relatable nods to contemporary culture. The Bells of St. John probably wouldn't have existed without this, for instance. Plus, I like the sci-fi idea of overly logical supercomputers going mad and deciding humanity is obsolete, so naturally I couldn't resist. However, I don't know if I should be alarmed by the fact that when I told Oliver I was buying the War Machines on DVD to check it out and asked him for his view, the main thing he asked that I acknowledge was how a certain action sequence is, and I quote, unfortunately jarring due to the nature of it flicking between location and studio footage for whatever reason, meaning some shots are shot on videotape, but the location stuff is on beautiful HD 35mm film, and that it could have benefited from being shot entirely on 15mm film like Power of the Daleks Part 6 due to all the action sequences. So, that's good to know. I'm not even going to take that criticism seriously, to be honest with you. I mean, I too like TV to look consistent, don't get me wrong. I prefer the graininess of film to the dated look of video, but if I started marking stories down because they were shot on varying formats, I'd then be throwing mud at pretty much every single Who story from the classic era, which, like most BBC television from that time, used film for outdoor locations and video for studio scenes, resulting in a massive to and froing between varying picture qualities every single episode. So that's immaterial here. The only other thing Oliver mentioned, which concerns me more, is the possibility that, like The Seeds of Death, the only other black and white story that I've reviewed, I might regard this as a story with potential that worked for its time, but would seem dated now. A story that is held back by the constraints of how television was made in the 60s. I did worry after that review of The Seeds of Death that I was actually knocking all of black and white Who, which unlike 70s and 80s Who I'm not used to. I think I've mentioned all the pre-1970 Who stories I've ever seen already. But naively, I'm not expecting the War Machines to suffer as much as the Seed of Death, mainly because it's far shorter, running at 4 parts as opposed to 6. The slow pace and long runtime was the main thing that brought the Seeds of Death down when I watched it for the purposes of review, and I'm more used to 4-part 100-minute stories, which for me have a perfect balance of space and action. So hopefully the War Machines won't fare too badly. Right, enough chit chat, let's get on with it. See you on the other side. So, that crucial $1,000,000 question. Has this story dated? Has this story dated? Well, the answer is no. Far from it. Only the style of acting and the black and white picture make this a 1960s story. Otherwise, the direction is brilliant, and if anything, the script's warnings remain as relevant as ever. The War Machines is a cautionary tale of what happens when AI gains too much independence and intelligence, and technology's dehumanizing, brainwashing effect on the soul. Is a modern day person walking across the street buried in their phone really that different to poor old hypnotized Dodo Chaplet? Answers on a postcard, please. And if you are watching this on your phone while walking, I apologise. But really, you need to look at your phone less. It will do you good. I found a certain charm in the few elements that had dated, and the acting is pretty reasonable, even superb at times. The menace that John Harvey, for instance, brings when playing Professor Brett works wonders for me. Oh, just listen to that voice. And I like the companions already, even though I haven't seen much of them. Michael Craze, Anika Wills, and Jackie Lane really bring an effective down-to-earth quality and life to their characters. Although the way cute Dodo Chaplet is written out is rather lame and cruel, but hey ho, you can't have everything. There are the usual moments of humour, and it's also great to see some brief moments of the macabre, such as when a war machine advances towards the body of someone that it's just shot, as though it intends to run him over. I think that was in part 3, but my memory's a bit hazy on that specific detail. Anyway, while the resolution of the plot is rather quick and simplistic, this doesn't mean it's implausible, and it helps the serial and its storyline gain a certain simplicity that will appeal to all ages. I did see Oliver's point about the inconsistent picture, but like I said earlier, I can overlook that because the story is punchy, the production values are awesome, and the script hardly needs any alterations to bring it in line with the modern style of Doctor Who that we're more used to. I don't really have much else to say about it, apart from the fact that those stylish title cards automatically make it a 10 out of 10. If you haven't seen this one, it's time to pleasantly surprise yourself with just how timeless and modern 1960s television can be. That is, if you can overlook certain bits of dialogue and over-the-top performances. So that's all from me, but I must apologise in advance because there is a bit of a typo in the title card at the end. Whoever spots it gets a prize. Lifetime of oxygen or something. Goodbye.